So if you can remember back to your junior high days, you probably looked for something called a greatest common factor. What that is, it's the greatest multiple that goes into two numbers. So for example, factors of 16 include 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. For 10, there's 1, 2, 5, and 10. The greatest common factor here is a 2, so that's what the GCF would be. If we have a term like this, we can do the same thing. If you look at the 4x and at the 16, they have a 4 in common, so I can actually just take that out, and then I put what's left. So 4x without the 4 just becomes x. 16 divided by the 4 on the outside becomes 4. And these are equivalent statements. I can do the distributive property to do the other way around. If there's an x, do you notice how this one has an x cubed, this one's x squared? I can take those out as well. So this turns into 3 times x squared plus 30x. And those are equivalent statements also. So go ahead and try these other 3, C, D, and E, just to make sure you get the hang of it. Factoring by grouping. So you probably did this before in Math 2. So for example, we're going to be working with this equation here, 2m squared minus 2m plus 64. So the first step we're going to take is to take out the GCF, which is 2. So what remains is going to be 2 times m squared minus 12m plus 32. Because there is no m in this term, I can't take out an m. So that's all that first step does. The second step is we're going to multiply a times c. So if you can remember back in the day, you probably saw an equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. And pardon my pen, it's still in the progress of being better. So a times c means that I'm going to multiply those two numbers. So here, if I kind of ignore the 2 for now because I'm factoring, I'm just going to do 1, because that's a times 32, which gives me 32. The next step is that I'm going to find two numbers, p and q, such that p times q equals a times c, and that p plus q equals a plus c. So basically, or sorry, not a plus c, ignore that, equals b. So what that is going to mean is that we're going to take this number in the middle and we're going to split it into two parts. So one way to do this is to look at the factors of 32 from here. So we have 1 and 32, we've got 2 and 16, 3 doesn't go into 32, and we have 4 and 8. And that's about it. So if you take a look, we want it, because we want p plus q to equal to b, we need it to equal to negative 12. 4 plus 8 is positive 12, but negative 4 plus negative 8 is equal to negative 12, and negative 4 times negative 8 is equal to 32. So we're good. So we found p is equal to negative 4 and q is equal to negative 8. And now we're going to split bx into px and qx. So we have 2 times m squared, that is left alone, but b is now split into minus 4m minus 8m from p and q, and we then just plus 32 at the end again. So the next step we're going to take is we're going to use parentheses to group together the first two terms and the last two terms. So what that means is I'm going to take the 2 still outside, but I'm going to group these two terms and these two terms. So I'm going to write m squared minus 4m plus, and then negative 8m plus 32. Steps number 6 is to take out the GCF from those two smaller groups. And so if you can look at this, for example, we have, in these two, we have an m in common. So I'm actually going to take out the m, and that leaves me with m minus 4. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Both of them have an 8 in common, so I'm actually just going to take out the negative 8, and that leaves me with m minus 4. but these are the same. So our final step when we write the answer is we write whatever was the GCF. We write whatever was in the parentheses in common, because these have to be the same. And then the last parentheses is this number and this number. So we write m minus 8.